between the military and the government is not uncommon across Africa. Countries such as Uganda, Ethiopia and Zimbabwe have faced similar challenges. Now, to discuss this, I'm joined by journalist and academic Nabila Ramdani. Thank you for taking time to talk to us in the program. Does this surprise you, first and foremost?
Well, in fact, one of the things that we have to make clear is that the issue of the army is not one which is peculiar to Egypt. As you reminded our viewers, the entire history of post-colonial Africa is one of coups and counter-coups and often involves military officers. And in fact, in any country which has gone through a massive and indeed a sudden revolution in such a short period of time like Egypt has recently, you will always have problems working out how to reconcile a military force with a new political regime.
How keenly do you think then African governments, other governments are watching events in Egypt?
Well, Egypt is a very significant country in the continent. It means an awful lot, not just for the Middle East and North African region, but of course for the African continent as well. And if you look at countries neighboring Egypt directly, like Libya or indeed Algeria, all the recent history is one where the military has tried and indeed succeeded in taking power. So it's almost inevitable. But in this respect...
Does it set a precedent, though? Can we, for instance, be seeing other countries following suit?
What would be absolutely unacceptable is that a democratically elected president would be ousted by the military. And that's the scenario which seems to be unfolding in Egypt. But it has to be said that Egypt has a long history of the military being in charge of the country. It has been in charge for the country effectively for 60 years, since 1952, when Colonel Gamal Abdel Nasser took, and his free officers, overthrew the monarchy and established the First Republic. And over the last 30 years, President Mubarak has effectively built up a highly professional and indeed well-equipped army which has consolidated its power and is now taking advantage of the chaos to impose the rule.
But a lot of those who are in the army, at least in the top leadership, are new. They are not the ones who are there when Mubarak was there. So are they not thinking of the consequences, given, for instance, the fact that they are highly funded by the US? Would the US, for instance, want to be associated with a military force that, if it so happens, does a coup, takes over in a coup?
Well, you're quite right to highlight the apparent revamping of the armed forces in Egypt. President Morsi, when he was elected a year ago, he made it a point to try and neutralize the power of the army, and he in fact got rid of most of all the old generals, the Mubarak-era generals, and he named as a commander-in-chief El-Sisi, who, as you said, was quite sympathetic to the Muslim Brotherhood, but who ultimately is the one who issued that ultimatum to President Morsi as well. So it has to be highlighted that the army still has not only an awful stake, an important stake in politics, but also in the economic life of the country, and controls as far as 40% of Egyptian economy.
Oh, thank you for taking time to talk to us, Nabila. Thank you. Now, Ghana's, a look at sports now, we're changing gears. Ghana has just beaten Portugal 3-2 in the last 16 of the Under-20s Football World Cup in Turkey. Now, the match ended about 30 minutes ago, with the Black Satellites coming from behind to win. Portugal was leading 2-1 until the 79th minute. Then Michael Anaba